need to have a prop. I need to ask somebody if they, do you think that I could borrow your cat?
My cat?
Yeah, just borrow it for a moment. No, I'm sure it's fine.
Oh, Mary Marcia, you could borrow this one.
Well, or I could use this one.
No, it's fine, it's fine.
What's fashionable for you?
Thank you. No, it's okay, this is good.
Okay.
Okay. So the first thing I'll do is hats. Keep the word above your head. Wearing different people doesn't mean anything. Now, my little poem. Now, this is kind of unfair to read, but I think Allen Ginsberg would actually love my poem. Okay, what do I need? Okay. Strangers at a train station. This is for Mel Thompson's hat in the station of Hitchcock. This is Mel's hat. Mel left it at the Waverly Writers. I know because he left it on the seat next to me and I found it. I brought it home and I've been taking care of it, feeding it every day. I've worn it around the block and once around the clock. Let me tell you, in daylight, in moonlight, it's been very well behaved, right down to the brim. Watch me pull it down, push it back. I have left it, shifty-eyed, a fox, sleuthing after the secret agent. It has almost helped me find the secret of life itself. And yet, I was on the way here to this gallery here, on the way to reunite this hat with Mel just hours ago. There I was, waiting on the train platform, standing there thinking I was not at all that anxious to give up this fine hat. Everyone compliments me when I wear it. There were these thoughts still caught up in the lining I'd grown attached to. How could I let it go when at the very last second a sudden burst, a bullet train blasted by me and Mel's hat blew off the top of my head. Sailed midair. It twirled. I watched it, unable to move. It spun wildly. All would be lost after Mel's hat had lost it, and now I lost it in turn. Mel, I've lost your hat. It's gone. It rolled tottering on the stage, but on the edge of the platform, but it didn't. It careened onto the tracks below. A tall stranger with such a charismatic expression came to my rescue. His quick response stopped Mel's hat right in its tracks. He walked towards me, the stranger, holding Mel's hat. He was quiet, smiling, didn't say anything at first. I was overjoyed. He placed Mel's hat on my head, gently, to assure me all would stay. He said, I know you. You're a poet. I nodded in wonder. Yes, do you know me? He said, my name is Bruno. I have a theory that you should do everything before you die. I gave him a quick double take. I spun around my back to him. My train had come. The doors opened. A fat man said, good evening. I squeaked, oh no! Not to tell Mel, I must take a photo of him in that hat. Meant to take one before. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Marcia. Okay, next, Vic Lovell is going to read something. And Vic, I told you earlier, but I'm going to remind you, Vic is old friends with Ken Kesey and helped me buy my house from Ken Kesey in the late 90s. Um, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, if y'all
Yeah.
remember that, it was dedicated to Vic. It says, to Vic, who told me there were no dragons, and then led me to the lairs.
They're layered.
They're layered.
It's my name spelled wrong.
And his name's spelled wrong in that. That's it. And I've done a double take on that, which is what I would say to Vic, for me, I would say to Vic, who showed me a lot of layers. And then warned me there might be some dragons in there.
So it was V-I-K, and only science fiction characters are named V-I-K.
Can you do about 10 of them?
Yeah, I'll shoot for 10.
All right, thank you.
Good. Okay. This is called Delirium of Youth. When I was young, I saw no need to have my feet on the ground, where I just stumbled and fell. I was drawn to the oceanic, the big picture that's never empty because the sea world pours out forever. The great original coral reef, the enormity of resounding deep whales, the giant id rising from the darkest depths, known as yet only in the marvel stage, and still the ecstasy of myriad beings reaching out, waving their tentatives. As soon as I got the chance, I slipped over the edge and took the big plunge into the great maelstrom. As I sank below the surface of the sea world, troubles swirled around me, evanescent marbles streaming upward. I was in way over my head, surrounded by anemones. Grabs held up their laws, slams and trollops gaped. Urchins bristled with stilettos. Agitated sparks seemed ready to consume me. Then I heard the porpoise of my life singing, and all my little wishes and all my big wishes swam through schoolrooms without walls, seeking their special riches. Trying to fathom the sea change, slutty she creatures, nudibranchs of luminescent organdy, in shocking colors, undulating, crawling over me with leisurely abandon. I worked blue mussels, I looking for nubile pearls, lurching among the empty hells, floundering, soul-searching, ignoring waves and currents, ebbing pride, and the uninterrupted flow of the drifting now, until I was washed up, shallow as ever, reluctantly scuttled, at bay, my fate sealed by a rolling breaker. One last great splash left me high and dry, exposed to the blazing sun, still searching for more recondite forms of strife, digging into the sand and looking under rocks. It was a sure thing, literal. Okay. This is called The Old Peril. It's just a matter of time when the top of the food chain gets crowded, although still lonely as ever. Sooner or later, something comes around to harvest the surplus population. The prey are so numerous, they hardly notice, even after having organized subtle systems of reciprocal intercorporeality just to keep track of one another. It happens so fast, you don't even have time to scream. There's a sound like running water or dripping, and then it's down the hatch. Sometimes you find a pair of wingtips or a Rolex. There's no real evidence of foul play, no bloody bits of tissue, broken glass, or even damp spots on the sidewalk. So it's finders keepers, and then the cops' histrionics. You say you found it? When? Where? What time? In the supermarket? No, I told you, on the sidewalk. You found it on the sidewalk in front of the supermarket? The drugstore. You found it in the drugstore, in front of the drugstore. The police are not morons. They just want us to think they are before this trap is sprung. You don't even know you're dead. The pulses and spurrings of life, the trajectories, echo and splatter every which way, like when you lay on your back on the bottom of a swimming pool and all you see is a blaze of light, a forest of wailing legs with whooshing sounds and occasional resounding booms. Their heavy, distant softness. How do I know all this? It's lubricious. The dead are permitted to warn us in a general way. A flimsy effluvium of ghostly neutrinos slipping through the quick dead barrier, like the photonic cryptograph of a phosphorescent fish, slowly swimming the depths where it's always night. No specifics, nothing personal, and above all, only the tantalizing hint of what is to come, like a blueprint inserted in a dream of being followed, or an ineffable twinge on the periphery of a poet's wayward thoughts. Meanwhile, drawn by the sirens, the garish colors, and the acrid stench of toxic smoke, the real culprit hunkers down and warms itself beside the roaring inferno of a nearby industrial disaster. It sucks in matter like a crackhead, shivering with delight. But it's not over. Even when it's over, the skeletonized, anorexic lady has not opened her mouth even to sing. The dead are gathering to a critical mass. They have become a mighty nation, and they have their ways of getting back. Though their former vehicles have moldered or lie a moldering, their genomes go marching on, so they're always hanging around. Thank you.
Thank you, Vic. Okay, I'm going to read a poem by Ken Kesey. Often I will try to do that here. He's not with us. He's one of those dead lurking around doing those interesting things that Vic described, I suppose. This is the only poem of his I know about, but it seems to work pretty well. And this is, well, I should give you some background. This is after he did a stint in the county jail back in the 60s for marijuana, you know. Drunk tank full to overflowing, motherfuckers wall to wall. Coming twice as fast as going, time gets big, tank gets small. Dominoes slap on the table, blood splay bones in tank next door. Bust a bone if you be able, Red Death stick it good some more. 3 days past my kick-out time, ask the phone, don't get the juice. Crime times crime just equals more crime. Cut the motherfuckers loose. Will I make the Christmas kick-out? Will commissary come today? Will they take my blood for a good time or just take my guts away? Some snitch found my homemade outfit. They staked a bull up by the still. They've scoped the plot plants we were sprouting at the bottom of the hill. They punched my button, pulled my covers, blew my cool, and ruined my ruse. They've rehabilitated this boy, cut the motherfuckers loose. The fish that nibbles on the wishing, let him off his heavy rod. The gowned gavel bangers fishing, cut them loose from playing God.